a monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. You know what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host, as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal, Tony. What's going on, Tony?
Not much, bud. How you been?
What's happening? And alongside us, we have his very special guest, Mr. Joshua Adams. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Pleasure.
It's a pleasure having you, man. I'm glad you can make it.
Yeah, excited. Hopefully we'll get to do this more than once.
I hope so,
Yeah,
man.
we were just talking about that, possibly, kind of making it a thing here and there. That'd be fun.
Hey, I'm a podcasting whore. I'll be on anybody's show, so it's all good. You don't even have to pay me.
How fitting is that remark for this?
Right?
For this episode, yeah.
Speaking of whores.
Whores.
Speaking of whores.
Whores.
Oh, geez.
So, what movie are we covering tonight?
Frankenhooker.
Yes.
Frankenhooker.
Absolutely.
Real classy film. An art film.
It's very.
Which I heard.
The character development is just amazing.
Yeah. Funny story, when Henenlotter was coming up with the name, he was like, okay, Frankenhooker, Frankenprostitute. He went through the line.
Hookerstein.
When he got to Frankenhooker, he's like, man, that's got a good ring to it.
That will appeal to the masses.
That will appeal to the masses. Well, I know who it appealed to. Believe it or not, Bill Murray is a big fan of this movie.
Really?
That makes sense.
Yes, he endorsed it fully. He's like, if you watch any movie this year, the movie came out in the year 1990. He said, make sure it's Frankenhooker. And sure enough, I mean, it's right here. I mean, I don't want the glare to get anybody, but yep, quote's right there.
Sure enough.
Huge fan of the movie, man.
Wow. Yeah, I would love to pick his brain about that.
I would too. It seems so random that he would endorse a movie like this. I mean, this is probably Henenlotter's biggest budget he had to work with, because before that, I think his budget was never over $1 million. And in this movie, he had a budget of $1.5 million. So,
see, and I would have guessed $20.
Well, yeah. Well, just based on the way he shoots his films, guerrilla style in New York and stuff. I mean, no permits, just fly by the seat. Filmmaking in New York City, the grimy, which is our theme for this month, is grimy, gritty New York, and
nice.
You get it in spades in this movie as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of graffiti, a lot of nasty club antics, and a lot of street hooking.
With titties, you say?
I just love the bathroom scene.
Oh, that's so gross.
That's my favorite.
It's so disgusting.
I just like the fact that there was a guy there to close the door every 5 seconds.
Yeah, that was his job, and he was not good at it. He had one job.
Oh man, everything about that scene is just bizarre.
Gigantic, muscle bound.
Yeah,
Zorro, who's has to be dubbed in at least half of his scenes.
Yeah, his dialogue and the way he delivered it was wonky.
I wonder if he just like talked terribly or something. They were just like, we'll do voiceover. It's fine.
Like I said, I don't know if that was like a decision that was made by Frank or anybody else behind the scenes or whatnot, but I just thought that was interesting.
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem like he's dubbed in every scene he's in.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Maybe the audio just wasn't good and they couldn't get him back. I don't know. I'd love to know.
Yeah, I would too. I would love to know what happened, because he seemed like a good kid. He is in a lot of Frank Henenlotter stuff, so I was kind of curious if, because I kind of looked him up on IMDb and he just kind of fell into obscurity. So I'm kind of wondering about where he went. He was quite an interesting character actor, so
yeah,
would have been cool to see him in other stuff, but it is what it is.
It might be a stretch to call him an actor.
Right. Well, he's definitely a character, so
He is a character.
dude was massive.
I just like how he just blew through the dude's countertop or whatever.
Yeah, he just completely obliterated.
And then he can't handle busting through a door. He's like
Right.
5 times shouldering a door.
Yeah.
I'm like, just thump it.
That's all he would have to do.
And then a fucking head
Just
takes him
flex
out.
near it. Yeah, a head.
There's a lot of decapitated heads in this movie too.
There's a lot of
Oh.
decapitated, all kinds of stuff.
Oh my god! And there's dude, so much decapitation.
That's best.
But so basic premise. I mean, you want to kind
Well,
of get into that and
Real quick, if you haven't seen this film,
right? Yeah,
it is free on Tubi, and I believe it's the Synapse version. Correct? I
think so, yeah.
I believe it's the Synapse version. So go check that out if you haven't seen this film, and then come back and join us, where you'll get an earful or everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
put a disclaimer out there.
little disclaimer.
Get spoilers in your crevices.
Yeah.
So who wants to go over the plot or the basic premise? Anyone? You got it?
I can take it, man.
That'll work.
So basically, we start off with our main character, Jeffrey. Jeffrey Franken, of course. I mean, that's to be expected. Definitely named after Dr. Frankenstein.
Mhm.
And he's basically he was a medical student. I think it's mentioned that he was thrown out of medical school.
3 of them.
3 of them, yes. So he works at the power plant in somewhere in Jersey, because he's Jersey boy.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's engaged to Elizabeth Shelley, I think is her last name, which is
Clever.
yeah, which is a play on Mary Shelley, the original novelist of Frankenstein, which is another cool little nod. But basically, he is at I think they're at her dad's birthday party. Just starts out the movie, which is really interesting because that's one of the only times in the movie that you actually get a bright sunny day, and it's not shot at night, and it's very different from the rest of the movie. Almost feels like a different movie entirely. That whole setup, but yeah, he's definitely a guy that's I would say obsessed with his work. Even during that, he's like messing around with his brain with an eyeball in it.
A Cyclops brain.
A Cyclops
We all have
brain.
one.
Yeah, which is completely random. I was kind of curious about that, so I kind of looked it up. And
Floating
apparently,
in an aquarium full of like Fago.
yeah, I love the goo, the estrogen based stuff that Jeffrey works with too. It's all purple and it's all gross and just nasty. But yeah, so he's trying to get his experiments perfect, and they're basically unveiling a present for her father, and it's this remote controlled lawnmower. And Elizabeth is trying to show him exactly how it works, and unfortunately for her, it doesn't work out well because it runs her over and completely obliterates her to where she's nothing but basically pieces. So basically, the rest of the movie is it has to do with Jeffrey's obsession with bringing Elizabeth back, but he's having a hard time finding out how. So he comes up with the idea after giving himself a forced lobotomy, which is interesting.
Several of them, actually. Yeah, not just one, but multiple. And you could tell he's done it before many times in the past.
Mhm.
So yeah, after trying to figure out how to bring her back, what parts to use, he gets the idea, I'll just go with people that sell their parts every night. I'll go with hookers. And basically the rest of the movie is him piecing together how to bring back his fiance. And that's basically your short end of it. But what transpires is one hell of a insane horror comedy.
Nah, it's bonkers, man.
Truly bonkers. And we were kind of talking about how much of this movie is just really a comedy. But like I said, the horror elements don't really start getting going till later, but there's a lot of small detail with comedy, and There's a lot of great lines in this movie. So many funny ones that you would expect from James Lawrence, who is our main character who plays Jeffrey. He's just great. He's got the New York accent. It sounds pitch perfect. Everything he's saying. I love when he's rambling to himself, when he's trying to figure out what he wants to do with his experiments. Like all the rambling he's doing.
He pretty much talks to himself the entire movie.
He really
like,
does.
It's so funny, man. Like just the way he sees his own life is hilarious.
Yes. And there's a perfect moment where he's like, his mom he lives with his mom, of course. So, you know, she comes in on one of his, or when he's going through the diagram, and he's explaining to her, like, listen, I'm losing my grip on reality. I'm losing my sanity. I'm losing myself. I'm becoming somebody else. I'm taking my word. He's just going on this really, really like heartfelt monologue scene. And after that, she's just like, you want me to make you a sandwich? It's like his mom's
you
not
should
even
get some sleep, sweetie.
Yeah.
Don't stay up all night.
It's so good.
Screwing yourself in the head and playing with your eye brain.
Eye brains, yes. Which she completely acknowledges and sees. It's nothing. It's no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that it was no big deal to anyone.
Just another thing my wacky son been experimenting on over the weekend. But man, there's so much to love about this movie. Like I said, it truly works as a perfect horror comedy.
Mm-hmm.
There's many times, and I've watched this movie a couple times, I still find myself just cracking up at some lines that are said, especially in the most infamous scene in the movie, toward the middle, which we'll get into. But some of the things he says in that, and when that's going on, it's just, oh God, it's comedy gold.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, Jeffrey's funny. I thought it was hilarious at the beginning because Elizabeth is, I mean, I think we would agree Elizabeth is an attractive woman, but for some reason, everybody acts like she's fat, like she's enormously fat. And she's just an ordinary looking woman, but like her mom and everybody's like, man, she's such a cow. Like,
yeah,
they act like she's this is enormous effort, and she's just an ordinary girl. I'm like, good Lord.
You could tell she's been padded like underneath her clothing
to
make it look like she's overweight, but she's really like Elizabeth. Patty Mullen, who plays Elizabeth, is a gorgeous woman. I actually met her at Mad Monster Party. I think the first year I went and got her to sign my my DVD and stuff like that. I had a conversation with her. She's super nice. She was in costume and everything. But yeah, she was a Penthouse pet, man. She's gorgeous. I mean, have you ever seen Doom Asylum? That's just her hanging out most of the movie in a bikini, and she just looks amazing. But yeah, definitely not fat in the least. And I always think it's funny too, because even when they report on her death on the news, they say like this portly woman or something like that.
Yeah, they talk about her like she's huge. Yeah. And even like the padding they gave her, they just gave her a Pixar butt.
That's it. Yeah.
That's all.
Really, that's all she has. So it's so funny, man. It's just so over exaggerated, and
because like isn't her mom saying at the beginning like, oh no, you don't need any of that cake.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, she's which is another cool thing. She's like really into pretzels, and she likes to eat pretzels.
She said, I just can't stop eating.
Can't stop eating.
Eat.
And it comes into play like at the end of the movie too, when she's eating pretzels at the bar, and it's just so good, man. I'm like a character trait that she carries over.
It's so funny and so stupid
at the same time. Yeah. So goofy.
I love it.
Well, yeah. So to Tony's story, so you met her at a previous Mad Monster, correct?
Yeah.
And then we went together, and I remember walking past her several times, but I'd never even seen the movie at that point, so I didn't even bother getting an autograph from her, which is a shame because I wish I would have gotten one, at least like a still or something.
Cosplay chick.
Yeah, she did. She looked exactly like that because she was in full makeup the whole time.
Yeah.
I even remember her being in the whole outfit, and like I remember standing in the Sid Haig line and she was outside those double doors smoking a cigarette. You remember that?
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
She was smoking with that guy from Scrooge. I don't know what his name was. Older guy.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Like I said, man, when I met her, she couldn't have been more sweet and welcoming, and she was really nice. I think to that point, I don't think she really did too many conventions. I think she was kind of new to the scene, so she was like getting her feet wet, but she was like so amazing with the fans, and she had a pretty big line too, man. People were really anxious to meet her. Like I saw a lot of.
I wonder why.
She still is still to this day, man, very, very attractive. But yeah, she's awesome. And she's really a New Yorker through and through, man. She's got that accent down pat too. They did really, Frank Henenlotter really did cast these characters perfectly.
It's a very New York movie.
It really is. I was thinking about it watching it this time. I'm like, could I see anybody else really playing Jeffrey the way that he does? Because he's pitch perfect, man.
Mm-hmm.
The way he sells the lines, his line delivery, his accent, it's all perfect.
The way he looks and everything.
It's funny. It's funny without ever crossing the line into being just completely hammy.
Yeah.
Like you can see in the guy's eyes. Like I wondered at several points watching, I'm like, is this a legitimate crazy person? Like, did they just film this person and then build a movie around him?
Yeah.
Like he's convincingly unhinged.
Well, I was going to say the word unhinged because really they do it with the makeup too. Because I don't know, maybe it's not even the makeup, but they put the black like circles underneath his eyes, like he hasn't been getting any sleep. He's completely obsessive and nothing else matters. And he does look. The perfect word is unhinged.
It's the super crack.
Yeah, it's that's oh my god. when he's developing the super crack and he's
that poor guinea pig.
So perfect. But I love that he's justifying what he's doing. Like, it's not me killing them. I'm just merely introducing them to it. It's the crack.
I'm just giving them a chance if they want to use it.
Right. He's like, I'm not.
They're gonna kill themselves with it anyway.
Yeah. Speeding up the process. I love when he's trying to like talk himself into it.
So funny thing, I kind of want to pick your brain about this, Tony. So going back to Jeffrey's name, okay, so we know where his last name clearly comes from.
Mm-hmm.
What about his first name?
Jeff?
Do you think it comes from, like Reanimator Jeffrey Combs?
I had that same question.
I didn't even think about that, dude. That didn't even dawn on me, but you might be onto something there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's several moments that feel like very Reanimator-esque in this too.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a fine line between this film and Reanimator, really.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. As far as that goes, yeah, 100%, man. Because the serum in this film is very much like the serum in Reanimator. Even natural glow, the color, pop and stuff like that. Like I that's where I got most of that from. But I didn't even think about the Jeffrey part on that. That's actually really good. That's a deep cut.
I'm glad that Josh kind of thought of that too. That's cool.
Yeah, that's
well. Those two aren't that far apart either. Like 5 years. I mean, Reanimator would definitely been an influence.
Mm-hmm.
It would have had an influence on this movie.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
That and this film ultimately really does feel like even like an 80s film.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest takeaways I had was like, I know it came out in 1990. So it's like a year away from like Silence of the Lambs, which kind of changed the tone of everything. But it definitely feels way more like an 80s like trauma film than it does a 90s fast cuts kind of gritty type. I mean, it's gritty, but not in the same way as the 90s. I don't know, it feels way more of the 80s than of the 90s.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the setting. I mean, being in New York, I think it was probably shot in '89. So, I mean, and it came out technically, which I kind of did some research on it, and it said that it took Frank Henenlotter 12 years to make this movie, which I was surprised.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
surprised by that.
How?
I couldn't believe that when I read it. But it is in the trivia,
Wow.
which is really, that's an interesting thing, because I mean, the fact that he almost came up with this this whole premise on like the fly. I mean, he basically didn't even like, he just came up with a name, and then it stuck, and then they kind of wrote everything around that, based on, of course, like the basic framework of like Frankenstein. So I mean, the fact
and it does love Frankenstein too, like the, not to get too far ahead, but like the actual bring the creature to life scene was, I mean, they really took care in paying like respect to the original Frankenstein. Like it was surprising to me just how much effort, even to the like the chains and the raising the chair. Like it really felt like an homage to Frankenstein.
Yeah, the lightning bolts and just all that. It's so well done. His little lab and stuff like that in the garage. I mean, all that.
I love that.
The ridiculously long pole going up.
You know what I found myself thinking? I was like, how the fuck did that come out of the ground like that?
Exactly. Where did it come from?
Yeah, I just opened the. It would have been more believable had he just opened it up and lifted it up to the roof. Okay.
It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's coming all the time. It's always coming.
Oh man, it's so good, dude.
Yeah, I was impressed with how much, like you go into a movie called Frankenhooker and you don't expect it to take anything seriously, but like there is genuine love for the legacy of what it's trying to. It's not even really lampooning Frankenstein. It's more just like you can tell he genuinely loves those old movies and wanted to make something in that same vein, but just make it a lot crazier with super crack.
But make it a lot more contemporary, yeah.
He said, you know what Frankenstein needs is more titties.
Yeah. I think anything needs more titties. But yeah, I know there was a big, at that point in New York, there was a big crack epidemic going on, and that was a major thing happening. So it's almost like a rolling commentary on what was going on at the time as well, which if you've ever seen, which I can't wait when we do Brain Damage, Frank has a way of kind of not really like, well, he captures that well, like the times and what's going on and stuff like that in his movies too. That's a really underrated thing that he does well. And I think he did that well in this movie, just based on what was going on at that time. Really, that whole scene in the that has to be one of the grossest bars you'll ever see in a movie. It really is. Like everything going on in the bathroom is just bizarre and weird. Everyone's doing crack, and like it really looks like raunchy and gritty.
Dude, the stripper looked like she was fucking 70 years old.
Yeah, the stripper.
I think he just walked into a real bar.
Right.
Well, and there's like one shot, like, because it does feel kind of tongue in cheek and cheesy to some degree, but then you have that one shot of the dude that's just like hands shaking and like I feel like that was a real crackhead.
I do too, man.
I think that was I think he was really like strung out, man. Like it felt like a documentary for a second.
It really did, dude. It really did. I felt the same way when I saw that dude doing drugs. I'm like, damn,
like that dude's not okay. He died.
Somebody check on this man. Get him into a rehab center.
That man died.
He's on the edge, man. He's on the brink.
What's that shot that they give him when they start ODing?
Oh yeah,
Narcan.
Yeah.
Somebody get the Narcan.
But yeah, that like I said, everything going on in the bar scene was. I even wrote down the name of the bar. I was like, because there's a quick shot of it, and it's a neon sign outside of the bar, and I think it's it's like, I wrote it down because I was like, it's so quick. If you don't like pay attention to it, you'll miss it. One of those things, but I can't find it. I thought it was interesting. There was also like I kind of wanted to talk about. There's almost like a commentary on like pretty much like the sex industry and everything, because there's like a fake TV show that Jeffrey's watching where this I guess this is Hooker is kind of explaining to him or explaining to the host why they should make prostitution legal and it would help this and that. But they wrote the whatever whatever organization she's ahead of is called Hooker, and it stands for Hold On to Knowledge of Equal Rights.
Yeah, I caught on to that, man.
Oh, good, dude. I really got a good laugh out of that, man, when I heard that.
I laughed so hard at the police report that he had on the tape of Elizabeth. And like the detective on there that looked like Eddie Murphy and Nutty Professor makeup.
That's funny because
like
I thought
it's like a swollen Al Roker. And
he was completely dumbfounded. He didn't know what to say when they were interviewing. Like, yeah, there's pieces missing. We can't get into detail on what pieces are missing. It's one jigsaw puzzle.
Man, it's the most insensitive possible way to talk about a dead person. It's like this fat, disgusting, morbidly obese woman is just scattered abroad. Abroad scattered abroad.
Abroad scattered abroad.
It's so funny.
I like that.
Oh, dude,
that's funny.
Like I said, there's a lot of moments in this movie that just have me down. One of my favorite scenes. I don't know why this scene always makes me laugh. I think it's the way he just delivers the lines. But when Frankenhooker's out and she's picking up a John and he's looking for her, and he goes to Times Square and he's asking people around like, "Hey, have you seen this woman? She's really tall. She's got scars. She's purple. This and that." Like the most outlandish description that you can think of. And he talks to this one dude, and this one dude talks to him in like a different language, and he's like, "What are you, a Swede?" He's like, the way he delivers that line to me up. Time he's like,
"What are you, a Swede?"
I don't know why.
Man.
Funny. But I honestly think seeing Frankenhooker walk Times Square, like leave the train, like the station and everything like that, and pop up, like, dude, that's some iconic shit right there, man.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking about what other horror legend has been able to do that, and Jason was able to do that. And
yeah.
Jason Takes Manhattan. So yeah,
I think Frankenhooker did it better.
Yeah. I mean,
I loved her performance, like as Frankenhooker too. Like her facial expressions, the Stallone lip that she gets, man. Like she was 100% dedicated to doing that role, man. She was all in. She's like, "This is my big break. I am gonna make it."
Well, and it's kind of funny that you say that. And I wonder if that was written, why, the elongated face and stuff that she would just randomly do. But the cool thing is she was so dedicated to this character that when she does the conventions and stuff, I do know this for a fact that she still wears the purple wig, and that is the exact purple wig that she wore in the movie.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
See, that's neat because you can tell that it was not a paycheck. It actually meant something and still means something to her.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's cool. She's not one of those things like, "Oh, I needed money and it was a job." Like, it seems like she cared about making that movie, and that it, obviously it's not an Oscar-winning performance, but like,
no, by no means. Yeah, it's
a special niche. There's something about cult films and the fandom for a cult film that, like, I almost would. Not that I would ever be an actor that's famous, but like I would almost rather have the cult fan base that like rabidly loves me than an Oscar that's sitting on my shelf and a movie that's forgotten.
Yeah. 100%, man. I couldn't agree more, because these movies carry on generation and generations. I mean, you know, people like us, horror fans, will introduce them to our kids when they're the right age, and then they'll just pass them on, and they'll just keep going on and on.
Dude, Natalia sat through this movie with me.
I was gonna say, what is the right age for this one?
If a little while, at least for my two, a little while, but eventually this will be one that
She came in the room and sat with me while I watched it. I just kept covering her eyes every 5 seconds.
There you go. So she saw approximately 20% of this movie.
Right. So much nudity in this movie, man.
Yes.
It's insane.
It's so much, dude. And it's the
first season Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I've heard stories about that. I've never sat down and watched that show, but I've heard some insane stories about that show. As far as what they're able to get away with on TV. It's
wild, man.
Mind blowing, but it just goes to show you where we are now versus where we are then, what we could get away.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, there's a story that the MPAA called Frank Henenlotter and told him, "Hey, we rated your movie an S," and he's like, "Well, what does that mean? Does it stand for like sex? Because there's really just one scene in the movie," and they're like, "No, it stands for shit." So, wow, I cannot believe that shit, man. That's crazy. They didn't give him an NC-17. We'll rate you an S for shit. I'm like, damn.
And he's like, yes, but was it good? Did you enjoy it?
Was it a solid shit?
It was a solid shit. Was it a runny shit? What kind of shit was it here? I always thought that was interesting, man. I heard that. I was like, wow, man. Really?
That's great.
Crazy.
That's a good story.
Yeah. But, dude, so can we talk about the super crack scene? Can we get into that? I think
we have to.
Well, okay. So going into the way that he did this, I'm getting this right? He was only going to kill one woman, right?
Right. He was trying to find the perfect
body.
And then because he goes in and meets, because he's on the trying to find women, and he's talking to himself constantly. Oh, not this one. No, that one. And then he's approached by one that he does like, and she's the one that introduces him to Zorro when she realizes he wants a lot more girls than just one or two of us. And that's how we end up with he basically he pays to have a night with, like, I don't even know how many. There's like 7 or 8 of them, right?
It was like 30 minutes with like 8 of them.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I like the legs on this one are perfect, but like the nose is better on this one. And that's the game everybody plays in their head in high school with their class.
I like how he just went through and like he put a check mark on the chick's ass.
If you notice,
Grade A.
It's still on her ass when she's walking around.
Yeah.
We'll see the check mark on there. So the attention to detail is there.
Yeah.
Man, I wonder if, like, after they explode, if there was a piece that had the check. Like, I want to go back and look now.
Well, yeah, like what Tony's saying is there's a close-up shot of her ass later on in the movie, and she's got a check mark on her ass.
Got a check mark on her ass. I think it's when she's with that John that picked her up. I think that's where you see it.
It's funny.
But yeah, the
continuity.
Great, man.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
Side of detail right there.
Oh, dude, but the build up to the scene and I think the funniest thing is their reaction to the crack when they see it. Like, they start flipping out.
Whoa!
The one.
Those crack rocks were like this big.
They're huge. They're like, and then there's a scene where they're trying to put the crack rock on, and it's just falling off. And it won't.
It's like golf ball sized hail.
You know what? In reality, though, I could, like, even being like, I don't like you're in a different part of South Carolina than we are. Okay, I'm in Gaston. Okay, so I would picture a meth head actually fucking going ballistics over a fucking like rock that big.
Yep.
Oh, they'd love that
the
shit.
geode.
Oh my goodness! Let me try and cram it in this little pipe.
Oh my god, that was picture perfect.
It's cocaine in the can, baby.
Oh.
But, dude, and then another scene that had me dying was when the one hooker turned on the music, and Jeffrey's like, "No, it's the devil's music."
Yes. Dude, that whole sequence from the moment that they find the bag until the end of that scene is absolute brilliant chaos. It's all so fun because he's screaming out, "No! It's gonna kill you!"
When those two girls are on the bed, or they're on the bed, they're on the bed and they start kissing and stuff like that. He said, "What are you guys going?" He said, "What are you cats or something like that? What are you in heat or something like that, dude?" You can hear like him.
What are you doing?
As shit's going on, and it's just building up and building up. Like you said, from the time they find the crack to the time like the last hooker explodes is just comedic gold.
I like how she's about to stab him.
And even after the one that's just a hand and the knife is still stuck in the couch. And then like he's still talking to him after they're dead. Like, "I'm so sorry. I'm gonna fix all of you. Well, I got to get Elizabeth first." But
and then he like transports all the hooker parts back, but it's the way he does it.
Yeah.
Dude, throwing them all in a bag.
He puts them in a bag, and then he like goes out the window on the fucking fire escape, and then like he throws one bag down the fucking stairs, the other bag over the fucking rail.
I love it when he has his head, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, there's no damage. It's okay."
Oh my god, man! Yeah, that's it. That whole sequence was brilliant. It's just. I think
it's great.
Punctuated perfectly at the end when the last one explodes and her head meets Zorro's head, and it's just like that doink, and he falls back just from getting knocked out.
It's one of those, like, you just went from watching people smoking crack and exploding to a joke from an old Power Rangers episode.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's so, the tone is so erratic.
So absurd.
It's a great movie. It's a terrible movie and a great movie.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those movies you could just throw on and have a beer and laugh at.
100%.
And it's one of the movies they dare not have a remake because it could never be the same. It's one of those movies you can make now.
Yeah, well, it would be politically incorrect to remake it now. So they couldn't even get it. They couldn't just hearing the title Frankenhooker. Oh no, we can't touch that. There's no.
There's gonna be somebody out there though that's gonna try it. I bet you.
Well, it's like they're remaking the Toxic Avenger.
That I can't believe. So yeah. If that's the case, then yeah, they'll remake anything.
There's no way.
Wait a minute, is Lloyd Kaufman's hands on that or no? Not at all.
I'm sure he's getting paid. So
he's probably getting paid, and they'll give him like a producer credit or something. But like, I don't think he's involved in like screenwriting or anything like that.
Trauma Productions aren't going to be a part of it at all.
I don't think so. No.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
it's gonna be terrible. And, yeah, you didn't know that it was coming out? Do you know who they cast for the Toxic Avenger? Peter Dinklage.
Oh, I heard he was in it. I didn't know he was going to play the Toxic Avenger. That's interesting.
That's cool.
I don't know, man. But I mean, like, I'm sorry for getting us off topic, but like, it's such a similar type of movie of just very offensive, very like over the top, and they can't make stuff like that anymore because people are way too uptight.
Way too uptight. Yeah.
We live in a day and age where people get offended easily by anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Everybody's.
That's like we were just talking about last week. The episode hasn't been out yet. I'm getting that out this week. But it's we watched Street Trash and did an episode on it, and literally like half the stuff we just cannot talk about because it's like it'll offend somebody, and community guidelines We'll be shut down.
So yeah, that was a tough one to do because we really had to skate by a lot of things. But
I can imagine that one's a pretty it's edgy.
It 100%. And but that's why it was so fun to watch, because it's like it's a time capsule to a simpler time when no one was offended by shit and you were just getting away with everything and just doing whatever. It was fantastic.
Well, and it's not just that it was a simpler time, but I think there was a power in that. You take a movie like Street Trash, like Frankenhooker, or even something like Black, you can take a real world issue, and when you make it where you can laugh at it, you take its power away.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you can laugh at racism, then you can take power away from it. That's why Blazing Saddles, but you couldn't make it now because it would be too much of a agenda. They have to do it. It just wouldn't happen the way Mel Brooks made it.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, obviously, it's not funny that there are women in that industry and that's their life and they are drug addicts. Of course, that's not funny. But when you do take something serious and make it something you can laugh at, you take the teeth out of it. And that's something that we've lost the ability to do now.
Yeah.
And so that, I think that's why movies like this, silly as they might be, these are still important pieces of film just because they were able to take stuff that we can't touch anymore and they laugh at it.
Make light of it and just enjoy it as a straight comedy, not anything. I think Saddles is the perfect example of a benchmark in that there's a concept there that you could not do today because people would get too offended by it, but then laughing at it and enjoying it, because this is a comedy classic. I mean, people still talk about Blazing Saddles to this day.
Oh yeah.
If generation watched it, they wouldn't get it, or they would just snub their nose at it. But I mean, it's a benchmark in comedy. So, but it's always one of those things that's so subjective. It's hard to get right. And in comedy, in a lot of ways, comedy and horror kind of mirror themselves because a lot of it is subjective. What scares somebody might not scare somebody else. What somebody finds funny might not be funny to somebody else. I mean, it's all so subjective. So, I think, but that's why these genres are so polarizing. It's not like a drama or something where you can kind of get this out of it and that's it. I mean, with horror and comedy, and you can get so much out of them, and they really have teeth.
That's also why they work together so well too.
100%. Yeah, I mean,
any other two genres, because you can have a movie that's genuinely very scary, still be hilarious. I mean, the Evil Dead movies definitely have scary parts that are disturbing scenes, but they're also still hilarious to me.
Yeah. Sticks and oh yeah. Perfect example of that is something like Return of the Living Dead or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Scenes in there that, I mean, depending on the age of somebody watching it, could be really traumatizing. But then the comedy is so pitch perfect because it's so black. That's the kind of comedy I personally.
It's like
so.
Who you calling black, man?
Right.
But like, my wife has zero tolerance. Like she cannot handle horror at all. She doesn't do scary. And at one point, I was watching Shaun of the Dead, and that's one of my favorite movies. And she's heard me talk about it so much and quote it so much. She's like, "Oh, this is that funny movie." But she happened to come in on the bar scene at the end. And when the dude's getting pulled out and eaten by zombies, she's like, "This is terrifying. What do you like? This isn't funny. Well, you came in at the wrong part.
You psychopath."
Like the first hour is hilarious, but it still managed to be both a comedy and a genuine scary horror movie at parts too. And I think that those two genres they're made for each other because they both take us to these places where, like, psychologically, it's fun to play, but not fun to stay.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like being on a roller coaster when you're getting the high of, oh man, the exhilaration's hitting you. The horror and comedy do that so well. They'll take highs and just be an amazing experience. I mean, there's so many movies I've watched where, and not to get on a tangent or anything like that, but I don't get scared of movies because I think at this point we're just so desensitized to what we watch. I've never been truly scared, but there's a rush of anxiety that hit me if I watch something like me and you talked about Hereditary or something.
Oh yeah.
Genuinely moved and disturbed by something, but not scared in a sense. You'll feel like a rush of anxiety, and you'll feel like the hairs stand up, and that's to me that's what I kind of enjoy about the genre in a lot of ways. But then like this, I enjoy because the comedy and the horrors it's mixed so perfectly. And even when we're talking about Shaun of the Dead, the beginning of the movie is really much more of a comedy, and then it gets into like really horrific scenes and horror. In this movie, a lot of the scenes in the beginning are comedic and really like just not slapstick, but just really, really funny. Just the dialogue and everything like that. And then it starts to get into the more grotesque stuff with the end. Can't wait to talk about that. but yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways they're very similar. Not that any really terrifying in Frankenhooker, but the mix of both is so well. And I think there's more of a mix of comedy in this than anything. And I think Henenlotter set out to truly make a comedy when he shot.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I think that's where he was trying to go. Because even you find that I think the more serious tone that Henenlotter did was Basket Case, with undertones of comedy, and then again you see comedy aspects in Brain Damage. And I know you haven't seen Brain Damage yet, Adam.
I need to check
Josh,
it out.
It's my personal favorite Henenlotter film. I think it's magnificent, man.
It's up there, yeah. But I think he was going more so comical there on that one. So this one I believe has kind of a fine mix, but I think he was leaning more towards the comedy aspect.
The only thing with this one is I feel like in talking about it when we've talked about it, it's kind of like maybe it's because of the higher production value, but it kind of feels like it loses a little bit of that Frank Henenlotter grit. I mean, we talked about it having grit, of course, because of everything, but it's maybe it is the comedy too, but it doesn't feel like it's dirty Frank Henenlotter, if that makes any sense. It seems to be more.
Well, the city scenes do.
Yeah.
Like when he's looking for the women, the city stuff has that gritty, dirty, like touch that wall and get an STD from it kind of feel.
Yeah.
And I was looking at, and apparently Brain Damage is on Hulu. I mean, Tubi as well. So I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and what I love is he uses doesn't he use the hotel in all three films?
Oh, the same hotel?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I believe
100% on that.
I believe he does, Tony. Yeah, I believe he does because it looks like the same hotel in all three films.
It could be, man. Could be the same location. Well, Henenlotter was like a guerrilla filmmaker, so he's basically shooting what he could with what he was able to. I mean, so it's 100%, man. It could be possible for sure. I'm really curious about that, though.
Yeah, I believe that was a bit of trivia I found out, but I know I'm pretty sure the Basket Case hotel, because you see him going into the hotel with the basket, and it looks like the same. I believe the outdoor shots of that hotel is the same.
Okay.
And Josh, when you watch Brain Damage, keep an eye on the subway scene. Because the subway scene, you'll see the dude with the basket sitting there on the subway.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Super cool cameo, man.
Man, I love little Easter eggs like that.
Yeah.
Like I remember freaking out when I saw in is it in Evil Dead 2 when Freddy's glove is hanging in the cabin?
Yeah.
I remember thinking like
Evil Dead 2.
100%, man. Yeah, Raimi and Craven had something going on back then, man. They would show the little Easter eggs of their own or of each other's movies in their movie.
Yeah,
which is really cool. But yeah, I love
it. Always thought that was neat.
So the So when he gets, we didn't really talk about the dude. Oh, when she's at the bar, because Elizabeth basically, when she becomes Frankenhooker, she embodies the hookers that are her parts, and she takes on their personality, especially the main hooker, which I can't remember her name, the one that was like the leader.
Yeah.
But basically, she copies all of her dialogue verbatim, and just goes down the street. Got any money? Looking for some action? No. All that stuff that she said, everything she said about Zorro, like she's word for word, verbatim, saying her dialogue, which is really cool. Which is interesting because I mean I know it's Elizabeth's head on the body of Frankenhooker, so it's interesting that they morph into her personality, which it's really cool. It's really interesting.
I'm probably thinking about it more than it deserves, but like it almost takes it from being like the idea of like a science horror to more like a supernatural horror, because like scientifically, like obviously none of it scientifically is possible, but like you would think her brain would have her mind in it. So the combination, it's almost like souls or something. So it always makes her more of a supernatural monster in a way too. It's just, I don't think he thought that hard about it, but I don't know. That's just it is an odd choice. And I think it works. I mean, it's funny. It's got to be Frankenhooker. She's got to have that.
She's got to have the
mindset.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, when you really think about it, it's like, it's like she does have her brain still, just the parts of the hookers inside of her. So yeah, it kind of takes on that little supernatural little twist to an extent. But when she goes to the bar that all the hookers normally frequent, and Zorro's at the bar, and his lines are perfect when he's like, "I didn't lose them, bitches exploded." Analyzing what happened to all of his prostitutes to this guy at the bar.
It's gonna be the title of the next Snoop Dogg album.
It's so good, man. And he hears like her lines and stuff like that, and she even mentions him by name, so automatically he's, what's going on here? And then he sees because I mean he brands all his women too, puts his E on there.
That's intense, man.
Yeah, that's a really possessive pimp right there. He's branding.
That's wild, dude.
That's my property.
He's a brand.
That's my horse.
That's right. But I think the craziest thing in that whole sequence, I didn't even mention the trannies. The trannies in this movie are hilarious. They
can't use that word anymore.
Dying, dude. Oh my god. When that's
funny, man.
When the one was like, "Oh, here comes Miss Thing," and then when Patty Mullins walking down, Frankenhooker's walking down the street, she pushes one, and he's like, he pushes him onto a car, and his look of like sheer like shock is brilliant. It's so. I don't know if you can use that word anymore, but that's what was going on.
He's talking about transmissions. It's a transmission.
Yeah, there we go.
Transmission. There you
go. Yeah, just a segue.
Oh man, yeah, that scene that you're talking about though in the bar or whatever, that has to be my favorite scene. When he fucking hits her,
dude,
and her head flops back. Oh, dude, I was fucking rolling.
It's
funny that the guy at the bar was like sweet talking her, and then he tries to go down on her when she's at the table, and he just fucking it's absolute insanity.
Yeah. I like how when she's like, having sex with these guys or whatever, and they just fucking explode.
Right, and that's another thing. It's the movie's called Frankenhooker. There's not a lot of scenes of sex in this movie.
Mm-mm.
No, hardly any. That aspect of it isn't graphic.
Yeah, not at all.
No. But the name comes from her being a Frankenstein woman.
For sure.
And essentially she's a hooker. That's what she is. Like,
no, your thought process, I guess, from thinking of that title and stuff like that, you would think that this is like a porno, like one of those like porno spoofs or something like that.
Yeah.
But no.
Flash Gordon.
Right. Something like that. Like literally like just one scene, really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, two. Because there's the one that's happening inside the bathroom stall at the beginning, and then it's up a John later. But neither one of those are really are explicit though.
Exploitive or graphic.
You don't really see anything.
Yeah, no.
No.
And the one makeshift vagina that you would see is actually a mouth.
A sentence you didn't expect to say.
Yeah.
So Corey, you say that's your favorite scene in the movie?
I like when he fucking knocks her head up and it just flops backwards and just sparks fly everywhere.
I just love that there's a constant purple hue and color scheme throughout the movie too. That flows it flows well with the story.
Mm-hmm.
Purple lightning coming out of her neck was really cool. The fact that she's in an all purple getup, the fact that she has purple nipples, and there was even there was talks where they wanted to like do her pubic like area. They wanted to make that purple too, but they couldn't do that. They couldn't get that, but they would get the X rating. So they had to tone that back and rethink that, but they were able to compromise on the nipples. So we did get that. But I just think it's cool. Like there's the purple.
They're great flavor.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great flavored nipple. Yes, absolutely, dude. I kind of thought about that too when I was watching it this time. So that's good stuff. But wanted to bring up too. There was when they were talking about rating this movie, in order to secure the R rating, they had to take. Because we had a total of 6 hookers exploding, but they were going to make it an X rating if they had 7 hookers exploding. So 1 hooker exploding changed it from an X rating to an R rating, which
that's one too many.
One too many, right? You can't have 7 hookers, but we can compromise with 6 hookers blowing up. That's fine. We can make that.
That's that era. That's the Republican math at work.
Mm-hmm.
It's so ridiculous, man.
We have an uneven number. That's just too much.
Too much. When you talk about 7 hookers, that's way over the line. But 6 hookers, we can compromise with that.
Yeah. That's okay.
Jeb Bush, not that many.
So, kind of wanted to get into it with the ending and how pitch perfect that ending is. I mean,
honestly, so it's been a minute since I've watched this movie. The ending caught me completely off guard.
Off guard?
Yeah.
Like
I forgot all about the ending, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this.
The ending for me, the first thing that came to my mind, like the actual ending. Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened at the end, but the final ending of the movie, it turned this movie into an old EC Comics Tales from the Crypt morality play. That is exactly the type of thing that would have happened at the end of one of those Crypt Keepers stories in the EC Comics.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I'm so glad you said that. That is awesome.
Because that's what they would always do. There was always the moral twist where somebody gets what they gave to someone else.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. Yeah. I agree with that, dude. That's a great cut right there, man.
Yep.
So good. But so what did you guys think of the random body parts that became creatures?
It's so gross.
It's so disgusting, man.
Very Frank Henenlotter.
Very Henenlotter. And I was almost thinking it reminded me a lot of and I think this movie came out around the same time, Bride of Reanimator. Mm-hmm. Those creatures, that guy, that's what I was thinking of when I was watching it this time. I was like, and they came out around the same time. I think they came out the same year. But I was thinking that, I was like, these thing creatures that are pretty much an amalgamation of all the body parts from the hookers in the tank of the estrogen serum mold together and create these grotesque creatures, and they're really disgusting. The special effects are fantastic on them.
Yeah, they're really good. They're well made puppet, and it might have been the super correct, and I might have imagined this, but didn't some of them like talk?
Yeah.
A couple of them talk.
Because that reminds me of like the hand from Evil Dead. You know, like it's so gross. I know if I had seen the ending as a kid, that part would have probably freaked me out a little bit. Like it's not scary, but it's just really gross.
It's disturbing.
Well, that's where most of the horror comes in, is the grotesqueness of the creatures, and they look like, it's just, man, dude, phenomenal. The special effects artist, I think his name is Gabe Bartalos. He did a fantastic job, even with the look of Frankenhooker, the explosions of the hookers, and the way they're, because it really looks campy and cheesy, but I think it's purposefully done that way. Based on how they actually did it. They did a mold of each one in a certain position, and that's what they would explode. And you can tell there's several shots that linger on them before they explode, so you could tell it's fake. But I think it's definitely intentional to say that.
And could have gone they could have easily gone the blood and guts route with the splattery explosions, and that's not what they did. So I think that makes it unique too, that they went with more like a fiery smoke kind of explosion rather than, a wet one. Yeah,
virtually no blood. I mean, no blood spilled or anything like that. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, actually. It does make it more unique.
Yeah, really the only blood that I remember seeing in the whole movie hardly is at the beginning. We see a little dripping off of the lawnmower.
Yep.
And it's one of those kind of like Texas Chainsaw where people remember way more blood than was actually there.
Yeah. It has a reputation of being more of a gore or blood flick, but it's really, in all actuality, there's not very much blood at all. So yeah, it's not true.
Yeah, and I like the eye of the detail when it comes to Patty Mullen's character when she's like all done up in her makeup. I don't know if you guys noticed, but like she had like one of her forearms was black.
Yeah,
different color skin. Yeah,
that was really neat how they pulled that off.
Yeah, I love that, man. It ran up to the stitches on there.
It's simple, or maybe not simple, but it's subtle makeup that works really well. And it's better than if they had gone really over the top, and it's just enough. And I would say that the whole movie is like he cranks it up as insane as he can get it, and then he stops right before he goes over the cliff.
Yeah.
I would agree for sure, man.
Definitely. Yeah, because even the ending, when all the body parts come out, that it could have went so many wrong ways, but it didn't.
Yeah, so, they don't over their welcome. Zorro into the cooler with them, and that's it.
Yeah. Oh, and then they reached out to grab the crack and pull it in.
Yeah.
Fuck it, we're gonna have a party.
Yep. Oh, that's definitely having a party in there.
Yeah, that decapitation scene caught me off guard too.
Oh, yeah. When I
completely forgot about that.
When I first watched the movie,
so
it caught me completely off guard. I was like, "Oh shit! I did not see that coming at all."
Your man just died.
Yeah.
But I like that because in reality, like she had just woke up and realized what he did to her, so she was it could have went so south because you see this in several Frankenstein remakes and stuff like that, but like where like the female, she gets so upset because she's morbid looking, and it's like, you turned me into this monster. You didn't save me. You could have just left me alone dead, and instead you brought me back, and now I'm a monster.
Well, that brings up an interesting question, because there at the end when he wakes back up and he sees that she has put his head on a woman's mixed up women's body, which is hilarious. She says his lines back to him, so that he said to her, Do you think she saw that as revenge, or was she trying to help him out?
I think she was. I think she was trying to bring him back so they could love each other again. Ultimately,
I agree with that because you can tell her intentions.
At the end of the day, now he's as morbid as she is.
Right. Yeah.
And they're perfect together.
Perfect.
It's a delicious irony.
It really
is. Yeah.
That's why I love the ending so much. I think it's brilliant because it's ironic.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she's like even telling him like, hey, you kept very good notes. So she had to do was follow the process, and that was able to bring him back. And the fact that they kept bringing up that the serum was estrogen based, so it only work on female parts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hey man, they set it up perfectly, and then sure knocked it out the park. I loved it. And when he's reaching down, he's like, "Where's my Johnson?"
Surprise! We're lesbians now.
You never really had one, Jeffrey. my only like disappointment about the movie is like I don't think we ever really saw the eyeball brain again.
Yeah, it just disappeared. That whole
it should have become their pet.
Yeah,
I really love the fact that like no one cared about that. Like even in the opening scene when he's there at a kitchen table in his in-laws' house.
His potential mother-in-law's house.
Yeah, it's just like, can you pass me the ketchup? And I'm like, how are you not grossed out by this? Like, I would be like, what the fuck? Why do you have that on my kitchen table?
Oh, what you got there, bud?
And then she goes out to Elizabeth and said, "Oh, he's at it again."
That crazy boy.
And that's crazy.
But they genuinely love the guy. Like even the father, like genuinely loves him.
Yeah, because he called him son. Yeah. He was big on him and stuff like that. Yeah, it's interesting, man. He's like, "Oh no, this is your day. Don't give me any accolades,
any credit
or credit."
Oh, man.
It seemed like they had a good chemistry and everything. Like they're a happy family, or potentially would have been a happy family.
Well, I mean, they're excited because this is an intelligent doctor. He's going to be making money. You know, he's going to marry their fat, stupid daughter that stands in front of remote control lawnmowers and lets them run her over while people are screaming at her, "Don't stand in front of it."
I go back to the scene of like Austin Powers where the guy is like yelling no in front of the steamroller, and they're like, "Move!"
Oh man, dude.
Yeah, on paper, this movie shouldn't work as well as it does.
Right, based on the fact that it was just a concept just pulled out of thin air, and it shouldn't have worked the way it does, but it does, man. It's a one of those movies that, like you said, is so niche and has such a rabid fan base because of the concept and the concept that they fully fleshed out. Which, I mean, when they say you have a Frankenhooker, they give you a Frankenhooker, and
it delivered.
Yeah, it delivers. I mean, unfortunately, you don't get much of the Frankenhooker. It's more toward the end, but still, the fact that you get the Frankenhooker is phenomenal.
Well, you say that, but like you think about how many times growing up did you go to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, wherever, you rented a tape because the cover looked awesome and there was some kind of crazy monster or killer on the cover and it just looked like it was going to be great. And then that character, when it does show up, looks nothing like what's on the cover, and it's in the movie for like 3 minutes at the end.
Let me tell you, I've been burned by that many times.
Oh, yeah.
This movie, like you said, it delivers on every single inch of what it promises to be.
Yeah. You know what I think? What makes this film actually so successful, even just to a slight fan base, is the fact that this movie just keeps going. It's not like one of those films that's like it's a slow burn, you know. This film's actually a short runtime.
It really is,
and it delivers the entire time, which is perfect.
Well, I mean, it's got the 3-act. It's basically a 3-act setup format. You have the death of Elizabeth, and he's planning. Then all the stuff with the super crack and finding the hookers, and then the big ending where he's trying to chase it down. So it's a 3-act story. I mean, it really is way better planned out than it ever should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, man.
That's just good filmmaking.
Yeah, really. That's why I like Henenlotter so much. I mean,
I wonder. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying he makes the most out of what he has. I mean, he really gets the most out of what he's given. I mean,
yeah, you cannot call him a hack. He's not a hack.
Right. He definitely makes some unique films, which is funny. And I was going to tell you guys the fact that Henenlotter doesn't consider himself a horror filmmaker. He likes to consider himself an exploitation filmmaker, which I thought was very interesting.
Well, I mean, I could see that, given this film.
Yeah, he doesn't consider his films horror films. He considers them exploitation films. So,
I
mean, that's fair.
Yeah, that's a fair. I mean, that's.
I mean, looking at
Camel's Mouth.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about that, and then thinking about his other films. I mean, this one is definitely an exploitation film altogether.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't go as far as saying a sexploitation, but it is an exploitation. Definitely.
Right.
It's very Grindhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
Holding on to the little bit of Grindhouse that they still had left in New York at that time too.
Yeah, because at that point they were cleaning the streets.
They're starting to clean New York up, and you weren't getting those seedy, disgusting hotels and stuff on 42nd Street and like all that stuff. Becoming
Pay by the hour, not the night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the last little bit of that you get. And man, it's glorious.
You know, I was wondering, like, could this film do good, or did this? I wonder if this film did good in the theaters.
No.
You know,
I can't imagine.
It did.
Yeah.
I mean, this feels like one of those video nasties that just went straight to VHS, and that built the fan base that loved it. Was because, I mean, you that time period, 80s, early 90s, man, the VHS horror market was huge, and it was very the most outrageous title and cover you could possibly find was the thing everybody took out. So I mean, I could be wrong. Can't imagine it had much success.
No, I kind of looked up the box office and saw it in the video, and it only made about 200,000. So
oh wow,
it did not perform well at all. But yes, the home video market for this was fantastic because this VHS also had a gimmick to where if you pressed a button on the VHS cover, like you would hear Frankenhooker like say her lines on it.
Which that's cool.
Yeah, which is a big selling point, which actually did well. So, it definitely thrived in the home video market for sure.
Yeah. This just goes to show that even back then they were taking care of the fans.
Yeah.
Of the genre.
And really, man, directors now could stand to learn how to do that again.
Oh yeah, that's a dying art now. Whew.
Man, and I don't know how much of it has to do with studio interference now. Whereas back then they just like here's some money, here's some crack, here's whatever, just go make a movie and give us a return on it. Whereas now everything is so micromanaged by studio heads. I don't know. It's rare that it feels like a unique vision of an actual director.
There's a couple.
I mean, it happens, but
yeah, I mean that's why Tony and I we love the independent film industry so much. You know, there's this one director that we ultimately follow, and he's kind of that guy of this day and age. But James Balsamo from Acid Bath Productions.
Yeah, he does a lot of that too. Yeah, a
lot of his stuff is very comical, horror, slapstick, if you will, tongue-in-cheek stuff. But you know, he's always coming out with a new movie, and his films are fun to watch. Kind of like this. It's engaging. It's fun to watch. You know.
Yeah, there's a couple.
I think that's the case of a lot of things.
We just covered Ari Aster's films. He really feels like he has a voice, and he's not too handicapped by the studio and the studio heads. And a guy like Robert Eggers definitely has his own voice. He
got to make The Lighthouse.
Yeah, I mean his movies are genuinely, and I think I had an interview where he said, "Listen, all I want to do is make period piece movies. I don't want to make movies set in modern times." So he's definitely one of those guys that he has a creative voice and 100% creative control over his own product. So there's a couple guys out there like that, but man, there's so few and far between now.
Yeah, it's rare. Well, I mean, and it's the same with a lot of industries right now. Like comic books, independent comics are way better than anything that the bigger Marvel, DC stuff is being put out. If you get those independent books, those are the best books. Same thing is music is the same way. Just artists that are out there, they're not making money, but they're making some good music. You know, that's the way things are going. It's the little engines that are actually putting out some stuff. The internet, I know we had the internet before, but I think the option now for self-produced and the cameras that we have in a phone, you can make a movie on your iPhone and have it look like 1,000 times more professional than some of the movies that were made in the past 10, 15, 20 years. I think we have more like independent filmmakers. Your college student that's got a good idea to get his hand on something that's actually really cool and find an audience for it. They might not make money and they might not ever win an award or get, make a career in the sense of being like a successful career, but they can make some really good stuff. So there's some really cool short films that you can find on YouTube that are better than what these studios are cranking out. Better than anything Blumhouse is putting in the theaters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, because you definitely have an artist creative control, and it's on him. He doesn't have a producer breathing down his neck, or the studio pushing him to change this around, get rid of this, make this the ending. I just love when it reminds me of cinema in the golden age of the 70s, when they basically gave these brilliant filmmakers creative control and let them do whatever they want, and we had amazing movies come out of
Yeah, I mean, look at Cronenberg.
Which had a new one coming out.
Yes, I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited.
It looks every bit as nuts as anything he's ever done. So
I am completely on board. If Cronenberg's doing a new horror film, if it's in theaters, I'm seeing it.
Yep, sign me up.
Sign me up. Because he said for a long time he was never going to do another horror film. So I don't know if it was his son kind of dipping into the genre that kind of spurred.
I wonder if his son's helping him with this latest film.
I'm not sure.
He could be.
Cool.
I think that probably has a lot to do with him getting back into the genre.
Oh yeah.
Really.
And Brandon makes some really good films.
Does. He's definitely a chip off the old block from his old man. He
definitely.
Kind of style films, and it really reminds me of Cronenberg for sure. He did
Antiviral, didn't he?
Did Antiviral.
Yeah.
He did Possessor, of course. I mean,
Possessor,
yeah. He's fantastic filmmaker.
You can definitely tell he's cut from the claw.
Oh, 100%. Cannot wait to see what the future holds for that young man.
I really hope he comes out with a new movie. It's like not kind of like Bava, where he's like 1 in 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, as long as that one every 10 years is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the waiting in between though that kills me.
Well, it's kind of harder to get a budget and stuff like that in Canada. There's a lot of restrictions and stuff like that with the Canadian film industry that kind of make it tougher for those guys to kind of get movies out at a consistent basis. So,
sorry,
yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Hey, you can't make that, Go and make that movie. Sorry.
I don't think he wants to do, because I don't think his dad really wanted to do that in his day either. He wanted to kind of stay in Canada and make his own movies, but it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, you guys ready to get into ratings on this thing?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So what'd you guys rate this film? So I don't know if you caught on to how we rate these films, but we do up to 5 stars on Letterbox is how we kind of rate it.
Yeah, we just
I gotcha.
rip
One being a complete shit show. I think you can even rate down to a half a star.
You can, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
ouch. Okay.
Which I don't think we've done. Have we? Have we done any half stars?
I don't even think we've been to a 3-star yet. We've kind of been.
I've done like a 1 star before.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
That might have,
Jurassic Shark was a really, really bad film.
that might have been on was that on a roulette episode?
That was a roulette episode, yes.
I don't think I've been past 3 though yet for me. So a lot of movies we've discussed so far, I've really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. So what you guys think?
Who wants to go first? I mean, I'll go.
Yeah, you go first.
It's all good with me. Yeah, Frankenhooker is a treat, man. I remember watching this movie many, many times. Like I said, up to this point, maybe seven times. And it's not even my favorite Henenlotter film, believe it or not. I mean, Brain Damage definitely holds that mantle. But this movie, like we talked about, delivers on everything you expect it to deliver on. It gives you the titular Frankenhooker. It might not be a lot of screen time for her, but you still get her and get some scenes of her, even in Times Square, which is fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that they took advantage. Of course, with Henenlotter, he's going to shoot guerrilla style, so he's going to not have any permits or anything like that for some scenes, but he's going to make do with what he's got, and he really does. The characters in here are all great. We didn't even really discuss how kooky Jeffrey's mom is.
Yeah,
she's all and off the wall and just in her own little world. And I just love the characters in Henenlotter films. I really do. He has a way of capturing, and he has a way of capturing New York brilliantly. Like a lot of contemporary filmmakers, well, not contemporary filmmakers, but filmmakers in his style and his genre can really do, like Larry Cohen, or for example, they captured the essence of New York at that time. William Lustig's the same way, does that perfectly. But not to go into another tangent, I give this movie a solid 4 out of 5. It definitely deserves it. It's definitely a fun watch. It's one of those films, like you said, Corey, you can pop a beer, drink, and just have fun with. Get some friends over, have a good laugh. I mean, just have a complete and utter good time, and that's what this is. It's a really good time.
Definitely.
I think for me, I give it 3 out of 5, and I'll explain why. I like everything about it. Like it is funny. It's an entertaining movie. It's definitely not a lousy movie. Like it's a movie that's worth watching. It's one I would come back to again and watch. There's nothing in this movie that stands out so much that it's like puts it ahead of my top tier movies. Like there's the special effects are okay, but they're not the thing. They're not. Yeah, I mean, it's the soundtrack is suitable, but it's not like this incredible soundtrack that just really stays with me and I listen to on the way to work. So like for me, it's a little too mediocre for me to put it above a 3. I do like it. I do enjoy it. I enjoyed talking about it. It's definitely one that I would watch again. But I for me, it's just a 3. I can't give it a 4. But I did like it. Like I definitely didn't think it was a bad movie.
No, that's good. That's a good solid rating. We didn't really talk about the music, but the music is kind of doesn't really.
It's just there. It serves, but
it's not like special, right? I actually
it wasn't memorable.
Yeah, I actually really agree with that.
Yeah. For me, I'm right there with Tony. I'm a 4 out of 5 star on this one.
Screw you guys.
But it just comes down to, ultimately, I have such a fun time watching this film, and honestly, the rewatch value is right there for me, and I don't know why I don't rewatch it all the time. This is probably about my fourth watch on this film. And I need to enjoy it more. And I don't know. I picked out a lot going into it while I was critiquing this film, and just the slight details to everything, keeping me engaged the entire time. And then just having a fun time watching it. I wasn't bored at all. I remember this watch, I was actually really tired because I only had about 3 to 4 hours of sleep, and I didn't fall asleep not once. I wasn't tired, or groggy while watching it. And then, of course, with it being such a short film, it actually worked for me. So I don't know, it's right up there for me. I do agree.
And it may be that it might would get better with multiple viewings for me too. It might be one that I like more every time I watch it too. So that
well, you already said going into it that you liked Basket Case as well.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this just isn't your favorite Henenlotter film. We'll talk to you after you watch Brain Damage, because you probably like that.
I definitely want to watch that.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm such a Frank Henenlotter fan that this is like, out of those three, this is my least favorite, and I still give it a 4 because I'm such a fan of him as a filmmaker and what he's do. Like his movies just strike a chord with me personally. They're just fantastic, and like I said, this is like, out of the three, this is my least favorite. So it just goes to show how his movies just hit me a different way. They're kind of special. He really is a filmmaker that I hold in high regards. As if I did like a top 50 horror filmmakers, he would definitely be on that list for sure.
Oh yes,
yeah, and well earned.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he deserves to be on that list
for sure.
Well, this film kind of showcases, and we didn't really talk about this part, but a kind of a fine line between science fiction and horror.
Yes.
This is right there, I think, because I mean, Frankenstein, let's face it, can you really reanimate dead tissue?
Yeah.
I doubt it, especially bringing somebody back from the dead who's been dead for a while, because let's face it, there was like a time lapse for Elizabeth. She was dead for a minute,
Oh yeah.
So I don't know.
He soaked her in new grape, dude. She's totally fine.
Yeah, man. She was
Ziploc bag, dude. Ziploc.
Yeah.
I do love the.
We didn't talk about the dinner scene where he was like, "I got big plans for you."
I was just sitting there with the head.
He's like, "Would you like? What do you want to do? Italian tonight?" He just pulls out a piece of pizza, starts eating.
Pours the wine in her mouth. It comes out all over the table.
Oh my god, man! I love
like, is he dumb?
I really wish that he would have like started yelling at her, like, "You're making such a mess. What is this?"
But see, that was one of those moments that made me feel like, is he really, like, he felt like Jeffrey Dahmer in that scene. Like, I feel like that's the type of situation like an actual Ed Kemper or somebody has had those kinds of conversations with Ed before.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it made me uncomfortable. Like, there was almost like, it was funny, but it was also like, man, that's a little creepy.
It's like true to life stuff right here.
Yeah, that's a little too close to reality.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's it's fun, man. This is a fun time. Good stuff.
Yeah,
good movie. Good
movie.
Like I say, good movie to watch with buds and chill out. And Josh made a really good point too. Another reason I love this movie so much is because they take the homage to the original Frankenstein and do it so well, and they do it with such love and attention to detail and care and I love that he brought that up. It really feels that way. It really feels like Henenlotter is a huge fan of that movie in particular, and really was paying homage to it in a very respectful way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he did it brilliantly with the way that she was resurrected, and of course she had, when her head fell back, he put the bolts on her. With I thought that was brilliant. The fact that she's on high platform shoes.
Yeah, the shoes killed me. I laughed so hard when the shoes came on.
No, the shoes were a great touch. I mean, just the attention to detail that he paid to the original Frankenstein was really, really cool. And I have a shout out to.
Did you guys watch the trailer for this at all? Have you guys ever saw the trailer for this?
I haven't.
So, yeah, I watched the original trailer, and it actually mentions you had Frankenstein, and then there was Bride of Frankenstein, and now Frankenhooker.
That makes sense.
I like that you guys brought that up, not knowing. But yeah, in the trailer they do mention Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and now Frankenhooker.
I don't know how he resisted the urge to give her the Marge Simpson hair.
It's super.
I'm so glad he didn't though.
I'm glad he didn't either.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have worked as well as what we got. But I that had to have been some of the concept art for this. Like there had to have been a version where they like tried the Bride of Frankenstein hair. It's like, nah, that just
100%. It wouldn't surprise me if they did. That would have been storyboarded or something, and that would have. I don't know, 100%.
It might have been in the concept drawings too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like as an artist, that's probably where like I probably would have started and then showed it to the director. He's like, no, that's not what we're going for. Yeah. It's not sexy.
Give her purple hair.
Give her purple hair. Yeah.
Among other things.
The purple nipples.
And we can't forget the purple nipples.
If it tastes like Schmuckers, it's gotta be good.
That's amazing. Yeah, you guys ready to land it?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, folks. Well, we hope you enjoyed our episode of the Midnight Monster Corner, and we hope we didn't spoil the movie for you. We hope that you headed over to Tubi, or you guys have seen this film before. Folks, give a big shout out to Mr. Josh Adams for being on the show. We appreciate your company.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It was, man.
But folks, like always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends, your family, whoever loves horror. Tell them, and get them on board watching us, as you guys are keeping us going.
Yeah.
And make sure that you head over to our Facebook group, where we're pretty active over there, and just get asked to join. We'll let you in, and we just have a good time. But you guys got anything?
No, man.
Want to add?
Eloquently put, my man. Like I said, yeah, Josh, man. Anytime you want to come on, dude, you're great, dude. I had a good.
I'm pretty much always free. It's as long as we do it, around this same time. Yeah, I'm down. So just let me know anytime you want me on.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome on anytime.
Yeah, that's cool. Had a good time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun.
And shout out to Josh as well for being just a kick-ass moderator of the Facebook page, man. He does a fantastic job, and like I said, couldn't have a better moderator, honestly.
Definitely.
I mean, the traction that we're getting on the group, and then of course when you sent me how Midsummer's doing, I was completely blown away by those numbers already. Gaining some traction, man. We're getting up there, so it's really cool to see. And it's
I haven't told you the big news, and this is really awesome. Summer of '84 at 12,000 views.
Oh my god!
Nice.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Wow,
it's nuts.
Unreal, man.
If we could just get those 12,000 to like, share, and subscribe.
There we go, man. We'll be on a roll. No, dude, I'm just like people are checking us out, man, and giving us the time of day. There's so many. It's hard because the podcasting world, even in the horror world, is just oversaturated. There's a lot of podcasts out there, man.
Oh yeah.
For people to kind of dig what we're doing and give us the time of day and check out our content and stuff like that, it's really special. And I really just cannot thank you guys enough out there for continuing to keep us going, keeping our drive alive, for putting out content for you guys to check out and just have fun with these movies and have a good discussion on them. And I hope that we're not, spoiling them. I hope you guys are watching them before you check us out. When you do come back to us and listen to the discussions and stuff like that, it's like, talking amongst friends, man. We want you guys to feel comfortable and just completely on board with what we're doing. So you guys have been. We can't thank you enough. We really, really appreciate it. And I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
He said, I love you guys, man. I really love you.
Definitely, definitely. Well, folks, we appreciate it. Later.
Later.